Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kim puna brahmana punya bhakta rajashriyastata anityam asukam lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. This chapter is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, and it is brought to a conclusion in the next verse after this one which you've read today. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vaishasi yuktvayavam atmanam matparayanaha, which translation you can read. So yesterday I gave the class on the verse which is very similar to this one, same message. The verse which also begins Manmana bhavamad bhakto in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, which Krishna introduces by saying Sarva guhyatamam bhuya shinu me paramam vachaha. He says, now I will speak to you the most confidential knowledge, which is my topmost instruction. So here we see this chapter is also called the most confidential knowledge, and it comes to the same conclusion. In this chapter, Krishna is very strongly stressing the need to be his devotee. Actually, he stresses this throughout the Bhagavad-gita. It's not, as some people misunderstand, that, well, Krishna talks about karma yoga and jnana yoga and dhyana yoga and bhakti yoga, so you can do whichever one you like and it's all the same. But actually it's very clear from Gita that Krishna is recommending to think of him and be his devotee and nothing else.
A ve skutečnosti je jasné z Gity, že doporučuje Krishna, abychom na něj mysleli a byli jeho oddanými a nic jiného.
Now in the previous chapter, the process of dying has been discussed. How to die properly. How to bring your life to the best conclusion. By thinking of Krishna at the time of death. And in this way going to Krishna. So that thinking of Krishna can be effected by practicing thinking of Krishna throughout life. Therefore Krishna is recommending this here, in this verse, saying that, after all, this material world is miserable and temporary. So having got here, you should get out by worshipping me. So who is this instruction meant for? Actually for all people. In the verses previous to this, Krishna has described how he likes his devotees. He's not biased against anybody. Anyone can be his devotee. He's not stopping anyone being his devotee. But those who take to his devotional service are naturally favored by him. And anyone who takes to his devotional service, whether he's sinful in previous lives or sinful in this life, can achieve the highest perfection. Now in this verse, in previous verse, Krishna has discussed those who are sinful in this life, in previous verses. Apichet sudaracharo, those who are very badly behaved. Bhajate maham ananya bhak, but nevertheless take to my devotional service without any other diversion. Sadhureva samantavya. He is a sadhu, he is a saintly person. Samyak vyavasito hisa, and should be considered as thus. Of course, ananya bhajan, undivided devotional service to Krishna, that means that one doesn't perform abominable activities. But even if one did so previously in this life, if he takes a devotional service, he should not be considered that he's a rascal, but he should be considered a saintly person. And even if, having taken up the process of pure devotional service due to bad habit, one occasionally slips into some horrible, forbidden activity, that should not be held against him if he reforms and comes to the proper standard of devotional service. So that's a discussion of those who have been sinful, those who are sinful in this life. Now generally it's considered that those who are pious in previous lives, they will take up Krishna consciousness in this life. As Krishna has already stated previously in this Bhagavad-gita. Yeshang tvantagatang papang jananang punya karmanang te dvanva moha nirmukta bhajante mang dhiravrataha. Those who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and who are free from dualities and delusion, can engage in my devotional service with determination. Because generally we take up in this life what we've been accustomed to in a previous life. So if we've been cultivating bad qualities in previous lives, generally we tend in the same way. And those who have been cultivating devotional service in previous lives, they are more likely to take it up in this life. And those who have practiced devotional service in previous lives but not become perfect in that, they generally take birth in good families. Shuchinam Shrimatangehe Yoga Brashto Shandayate Abhijayate. Krishna says that those who are fallen from the proper standard of devotional service or are not completing devotional service, after taking birth in the heavenly planets, they take birth on this planet in pious families, where devotional service is practiced as the family culture. Now, that particularly means the higher caste families, especially Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Although one is not considered a Brahmana by birth, that culture used to be there, family culture, that Brahmin family used to cultivate Brahminical qualities. So generally it was considered that the son of a Brahmin was a Brahmin because that culture was there. We also see this whole Bhagavad-gita is spoken because of Arjuna's distress, that by killing so many men in the battle, the women would be left unprotected, then they would be subject to pollution, and then the culture which is handed down in the family would be spoiled by the birth of Vana Sankara, or unwanted progeny, nasty children. So this higher castes, they were especially expected to take to devotional service. In the verse previous to this, Krishna has spoken about those who are Papa Yoni. Means, Prabhupada has translated it, born of a lower family. It means sinful birth. He's classified. Manghi partavya parshritya yepisyu Papa Yoniyaha Striyo Vaishyas Tata Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. You can give the translation. Of course, it's not very popular to say these things. But here, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita that women, Vaishyas and Shudras, they are of sinful birth. That means because of some sinful desire or sinful activity, they have taken birth in less pious family than Kshatriyas, Brahmanas. But Krishna says that they can also come to me. Mam he means certainly. They can certainly come to me, Krishna says, if they engage in devotional service. Then, the verse we're reading today, King Puna, then how much? Brahmana, Punya, those who are born in the pious families of Brahmanas, Bhakta Rajashyas Tata, and the pious kingly devotional families, they are expected more to come to Krishna consciousness. If even the most fallen can take to Krishna consciousness and attain perfection, then what to speak of those who are more pious? It would be expected that they would more easily take this up and go back to Godhead. Krishna is encouraging Arjuna here. Arjuna is born in a saintly royal family. But he's also making the point that everyone should take to devotional service. If you are sinful, it's not a disqualification, because whatever disqualification may be there is wiped out by one's taking to devotional service. On the other hand, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out, if you don't take to devotional service, even if you're born in a high-class family, then you missed the point. It didn't help you. What is that? Nahi bhajana joga shadko vipra Nicha jati nahe Krishna bhajane ajogya, shatkul vipra nahe bhajane jogya. He said that birth in a low family is not a disqualification for devotional service. And simply to be born in a high-class family is not in itself a qualification. Je bhaje she baro. According to one's degree of devotional service, one is considered higher or lower, not according to birth. Abhakti hinocha Krishna bhajane nahi jat kuladi bicha. And those who are not devotees, they may be from a high-class family, but they're rejected from the process of devotional service. That's already stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj is recorded as saying the same thing. Viprad vishataguna yuta aravindanabha pada aravinda vimukat svapacha varishta. One who is from a very high-class Brahmin family, and even if he is qualified with so many good qualities, Brahminical qualities, cleanliness, learning, truthfulness, peacefulness, these are all very good qualities, no doubt. But if such a person is inimical to the service of Krishna, he is not on the same platform as even someone born in the family of eating dogs, which certainly isn't a very high-class activity. But even someone from such a background, if he's engaged in devotional service, who has offered everything to Krishna, he is better than the high-class Brahmana. Now this morning I was talking about the importance of culture. So here Prahlad Maharaj is saying, it doesn't matter if you're cultured, if you're not Krishna conscious, what's the use? So the culture is important, but the point is to be Krishna conscious. Without that, the culture is useless. That also Prabhupada used to quote one verse about this. Bhagavad-bhakti hinasya jati shastrang japatapa apranasya dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. That one may be qualified in so many ways. He may be chanting many mantras, may be from a very high-class family, may be very austere, may be very learned, but if he doesn't worship Krishna, then it's compared to the decoration on a dead body. A rather shocking example. We can imagine, you see someone sitting down, very nicely dressed, with makeup and very nice suit. In some cultures they do this. They dress someone up very nicely after their death. And people come to offer what's called the last respects. What they don't know is that the person they want to offer respects to is no longer there to receive the respects. He's been taken far, far away. So that idea is there. Dress them up nicely, and people will come to offer last respects. So they'll be dressed up very nicely, but it's rather disgusting that even though he's dressed very nicely, but after all, it's a dead body. So in the same way, culture without Krishna consciousness, it kind of looks nice, but there's something wrong. It's like if you see a dead body, maybe dressed very nicely, but there's something wrong here. What's the problem? He's dead. So culture without Krishna consciousness, it's lifeless, it's dead. Just like dressing mritva, is it?
Mritva. Dead is mritva.
Mritva. Okay, that's good. Just like decorating a body, it has some purpose if the body is alive. It doesn't have any purpose if the body is dead. I mean, people of less intelligence may take it seriously, but those with more intelligence understand that, they should have burned the body. So in the same way, being very high class without taking to Krishna consciousness, it becomes useless. So all these qualities are very good. If a Brahmin has very good qualities, that's very nice, if he engages them in Krishna's service. But if you don't engage them in Krishna's service, then it's all misdirected. Still, we may note, it's very nice. It's nice if you're learned, austere, clean, and all these things. It's nicer if people are polite than impolite. It's nicer if they're clean rather than they stink. But after all, it won't ultimately help you unless you're Krishna conscious. Sometimes we see devotees, they're very concerned that we develop so many qualities. Just like we were discussing this morning about they take very seriously some New Age gurus who recommend all these qualities, good qualities which are good. Good qualities means good, such as being considerate of others, listening to their opinion. That's not necessarily good if their opinion is all nonsense. This is a misconception, that you should respect everyone's opinion. It's a silly idea. Hitler's opinion was, kill the Jews. Should we respect that opinion? We respect Krishna's opinion. But the general idea of giving respect to others, that is good. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said. Amanina amanadena, one should not want respect for oneself, but should offer to others. However, all these qualities, without being centered on Krishna consciousness, they are missing the point and actually artificial. These good qualities, devoid of devotional service, are just another kind of sense gratification. Someone wants to be good because then others will like him and respect him. Or you may want to make others feel good, but only for the sake of increasing their feeling of self-worth on the material platform. That's another thing we hear, that you have to believe in yourself. That's not our philosophy. You're supposed to believe in Krishna. And we're supposed to think of ourselves as, your own self. Another thing, you have to have self-esteem. But our Vaishnava philosophy is that we should think ourselves that Jagai Madai Hoite Amito Papishto. I'm more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. Purisha Kito Hoite Muito Lagishto. I'm more low than the worm in stew. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj's self-esteem. He's teaching. He's not just saying he feels like that. Prabhupada explained that. He's not just writing that as some kind of poetry, but he actually feels like that. So there are many ideas which may sound very good. Free speech, everyone should say what they like. But that's not the Vedic culture. Vedic culture, you should hear from those who know what to speak. Everyone is born foolish. Abodha jatam, everyone is born foolish. So what's the use of so many different foolish people saying so many things? You should hear from those who know. And that is proper culture. But everyone thinks that I'm a great philosopher, I know everything. So there are many wrong ideas being propagated in the world. And therefore our process is to hear from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Take out this culture. And even hearing Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, we have to hear from those who are fixed in Krishna consciousness. So that saying is there, the devil quoting scripture. That even the so-called devil can quote scripture for his own purposes. That means misinterpretation, taking out of context. Those who want to avoid surrendering to Krishna can make a good show of it also, quoting scripture. So ultimately our own sincerity will be the guide. We are guided by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. But if our intention is something different, if our intention is to make a show of being Krishna conscious, or not to actually be Krishna conscious, then we'll also declare ourselves to be followers of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, and actually we're following our own concoctions. That's why we see here Krishna is giving importance to Brahmanas. They're expected to be the leaders of society by their knowledge, by their culture, by their behavior. They're supposed to lead the society to be Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada many times said that he wanted to create a class of Brahmanas in human society. Prabhupada gave many times gave a very interesting analogy that why the modern society is so chaotic. He gave the example, it's like a body without a head. Very active body, but no brain. Another example Prabhupada sometimes gave was that of the active fool. Prabhupada said that the best class of person is lazy intelligent. Means by his intelligence he simply gives directions to others and gets them to do so many other things. He engages many people just by sitting. Not just by sitting, but by giving directions which an an intelligent person can give. Then next class is active intelligent. He's intelligent, but he's only acting himself. But what he does intelligently. The next class is a lazy fool. He's a fool, but he's lazy. So it may not be so bad. But worst is an active fool, because he does so many things and it just makes a complete mess out of everything. So if you're going to be a fool, better be a lazy fool. Don't quote that to the temple commander when he comes and gives you some service. Our Krishna conscious movement is meant for intelligent people, not for fools. If you want to be a fool, there's a street outside. You can lie on that. As a lazy fool, you can lie on the street. Krishna conscious movement, as Prabhupada said, is not meant for lazy or crazy. So lazy fool is lazy and the active fool is crazy. And our movement is meant for intelligent people. Now, you may also think, okay, I'll be lazy intelligent. When the temple commander comes and gives you some... No, I'm being lazy intelligent. But that's not intelligent. Because intelligence means you have to engage in the service of Krishna. And when by that advancement in that service you become thus qualified, you may be given the service of engaging others also. Lazy intelligent doesn't mean he's actually lazy, because laziness is a symptom of the mode of ignorance. It means he's very active. But by his active intelligence, he's able to get many things done. Just like Prabhupada, one person, by his directions, the Krishna conscious movement spread all over the world. So our Krishna conscious movement is meant for training people to be exceptional by their service to Krishna. Service to Krishna makes one exceptional. Anyone who serves Krishna is not an ordinary person. That even though he may not be considered advanced in the society of devotees, even the most neophyte devotee is on a much better platform than even the greatest of materialists. Just like the president of this country is famous as a philosopher, thinker, intellectual, he's not nearly as good a philosopher as anyone who's chanting Hare Krishna. And those who, even in the neophyte stage, understand that Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, they become greater than any mundane philosopher. So that culture we want to introduce, Brahminical culture, to give a head to society. At the moment the head is either missing or it's, as Prabhupada used to say, full of cow dung. That's a Bengali saying. Matai goborache. It means if someone's a fool, it means they say he's got cow dung in his head. There must be some saying in your language also. In English they say he's got sawdust between his ears. Sawdust, when you saw the wood, all the little grains. That's in English. What is it in Czech?
Yeah, we say also.
Same thing. Czech fools also have sawdust. Bengali fools have cow dung. It's a little bit more high class than sawdust. But still, for the purpose of thinking, it's not any more useful than sawdust. So our aim is not to replace sawdust with cow dung in the head, but to come to what is said in the next verse. Manmana, always think of Krishna. Thinking of Krishna has a mystic effect. It turns sawdust into grey matter. One who takes to Krishna consciousness becomes the most intelligent, more intelligent than any mundane PhD. That's another interest at the present time. Some of our devotees are interested in becoming what? Shvetsky doctors? They're becoming interested in becoming PhDs and all this kind of thing. You study Bhagavad-gita and you become more than any PhD. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Prabhupada was always surprised that how big scholars, he would meet these big famous scholars and he found that they're all stupid fools. Because they couldn't even understand they're not the body. Prabhupada used to say, even an uneducated farmer in India knows that. Here they are, they've got so many titles after their name. They have good powers of thinking, no doubt. Very developed powers of thinking. They can come up with so many speculative theories, which takes great intelligence even to begin to understand. but the very beginning of spiritual knowledge, they don't understand it. So even one who begins in Krishna consciousness, he becomes more intelligent than the misguided, intelligent people of this material world. And practically we see, just like here, Prabhupada is saying, Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Supreme Lord, is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. It's the penultimate sentence, second from last. So, actually that's the fact. Prabhupada was saying that our devotees, they should give guidance to human society, how to solve all the problems. So devotees would come to Prabhupada and say, well, how do you solve this problem by Krishna consciousness? Just like they'd say, well, now at that time there was a so-called oil shortage. What will we do if there's not enough oil? Talking about, what do you call it? Benzene? Crude oil. Not sunflower oil. So Prabhupada said that you live in the village, you produce your own food, then you don't need to run around in cars here and there. You see, they have huge trucks carrying wine from Italy to Sweden. I don't know what they bring from Sweden to Italy. Maybe matches, matches. They must bring matches. I was just trying to think what they grow in Sweden. It's trees, and trees. Now, what is this funny civilization? This very strange civilization. That people are always running around here and there. They're running so fast they don't have time to think, what are we running for? Prabhupada said, you live in the village, and if you need to go somewhere else, you have a bullock cart, that's all. So then there's no oil problem. You still need oil for the axle of the bullock cart. With that you can use some castor oil, some oil like this. Any vegetable oil. So you have castor oil in this country?
Castor, what's that?
Castor oil, that's one you don't have. Anyway, there must be so many. You don't produce it? It's not hot enough?
Sunflower oil.
Sunflower, yeah, you can use that oil also. So like this, economic problems, how the modern society, the economy is so complex. It's a whole subject. People have to go and study in the university. It doesn't have to be so complex. If you don't have multinational corporations, you don't really need Coca-Cola and McDonald's, and you don't even need IBM for that matter. You don't really need it. You live in the village, produce your own food, and then if you produce more potatoes and someone has produced more sunflower, then you exchange, that's all. Prabhupada is very serious about this. He envisioned Krishna conscious society, land-based, with cow protection, all these things. It's very clearly the vision of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes it seems almost impossible how we're going to go there, because the society seems so entrenched in its ways, fixed in its ways. But Prabhupada proved that by the grace of Krishna everything is possible, because no one thought it was possible that Krishna consciousness could be preached in the Western world. No one except Prabhupada of his generation. But he proved that the impossible is possible. So the next phase that is to come of establishing Krishna consciousness, this way of life in society, and that is possible, should be done, must be done by Krishna's grace. The center has to be Krishna consciousness, not simply living simply. Simply living simply, the animals are living simply. Yeah. But with Krishna consciousness very strongly in the center. So this Brahminical culture can be nourished very nicely in such a society. And tomorrow I'm looking forward to going and seeing how steps are being taken towards that here. What time are we leaving tomorrow morning? 6:30, yeah. Takes how long to go there? 1 hour? Okay, enjoy. So I'll see that tomorrow. Okay, Hare Krishna. I think we better finish that. Any question?
Could you explain what blind following means?
Yeah, blind following means to follow the letter of the law without understanding the spirit of the instruction. In Upadeshamrita also it's mentioned niyama agraha, being very enthusiastic to follow rules and regulations without understanding the purpose behind them. Now, in the name of not blindly following, some people make an excuse not to follow. So when we say we shouldn't blindly follow, it means we should follow. It's not that all following is blind following, as some people imply. Or some people think that not to blindly follow means not to follow. See someone who's going to Mangalarti, going to class, taking only Krishna Prasad, and say, oh, you're just blindly following. And they think it's enlightenment not to follow. But following means to follow with understanding. Therefore we have classes, we discuss all these points. Why are we following? Why should we go to Mangalarti? Because by doing so, Krishna is pleased, and we become purified. And if we don't, then Krishna is not pleased with us, and we don't become purified, and our life is spoiled. So blind following means we simply do without any understanding. In the beginning, our following may be to some extent blind. Just like a child is trained, first of all, do this, do that. When the child is first trained to eat, he's trained to put the food. The mother guides his hand in the mouth, and by his various attempts, he may put it here, put it there, and after some practice manages to get it in the mouth. So the mother may not explain that, well, you have to put it in your mouth instead of trying to put it in your ear or on top of your head. The child doesn't really understand why it should go in my mouth. It may be too early for him to have biology lessons. But anyway, he's trained, do like this. And later on he goes to school and studies biology and learns that, well, there's the mouth is here, and then there's the throat, and there's the whole digestive system. But you don't wait until he's old enough to go to school to put food in his mouth. So in the beginning, there may be, our understanding may not be complete. We ask people to come and chant Hare Krishna. They may not understand fully why, but if they do it, they'll get benefited. Yeah. And gradually, by hearing and studying the philosophy, they come to understand why. So, generally I'm a little careful when I hear people talk about they're criticizing blind following. I like to see, first of all, if they're following at all. If you're not following, then you're simply blind, that's all. You may think you're very intelligent. And what is the use of your intelligence if you don't become Krishna conscious? You may think, oh, I'm so intelligent. I don't follow this and I don't follow that. I make my own decisions. But if your decision is not conducive to Krishna consciousness, then what's the value? You simply be proud of being highly intelligent. And that won't help you to understand Krishna. Real intelligence is to follow very nicely and to understand why. And it's not difficult to understand. It doesn't take very great intelligence to it's not such a complex philosophy to understand that following the basic principles of sadhana bhakti are pleasing to Krishna. It's a process which is designed to help us awaken our Krishna consciousness. It's given by our acharyas. So please follow. If you don't understand fully why, you can ask. But in the beginning there has to be some initial faith. That even if I don't understand exactly why we're doing everything, every little thing, that it's given to us for our benefit. It takes time to understand so many points of Krishna conscious philosophy. Basic understanding is very simple. I'm not this body, I'm eternal spirit soul, I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. Therefore I should serve him. But the exact details of every little point, it takes some time to understand. So in the meantime, if you want to learn everything before you start, then you'll never learn everything. Because actually you don't properly advance and you don't understand unless you act in Krishna consciousness. The two things go side by side. Activity in Krishna consciousness, namely service, combined with hearing and chanting about Krishna in a submissive mood, leads to Krishna that Krishna being pleased, and then he gives us his mercy, and by his mercy we can understand. That is realization. What is that we hear a lot about? Self-realization. What is self-realization? Self-realization means to understand I'm not the body, I'm eternal spirit soul. I'm a servant of Krishna. Very simple. There's big talks about realization, and there's the self-realization fellowship, and people think it's something very mystical. Well, it is, but at the same time, it's not very difficult to understand. We're the eternal servants of Krishna. So if we understand that, and we follow the process of Bhakti Yoga, then how is it blind? Blind means you don't know. But if you know that we're doing this to please Krishna, then it's not blind following. Simple, isn't it? There's no need of complex mental, so many different thoughts about. You don't have to analyze everything inside out, upside down. Should I do it or shouldn't I do it? Is this right or is it not? You simply accept. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. It's an easy formula. It works. What doesn't work is when you start, is it really true? Is Krishna really God? Am I spoiling my life here? I'm young, I could be enjoying myself. Maybe I'm being cheated. Maybe there's someone hiding away, some secret manipulator who's just manipulating me and enjoying all the work I'm doing. That's what people criticize like that, isn't it? Sure. They say, you see these dangerous sects, there's some big leader just enjoying. That's why our leaders, they also have to be a follower. Prabhupada said leader means leader in hearing and chanting. So it's good if leaders also follow the basic practices of Krishna consciousness, not simply, not simply manage this and manage that, but hear and chant about Krishna with the devotees. That makes for nice management. Coming back to management theories, as it seems to be the topic around here, Prabhupada gave his management theory. In one letter he wrote that the leaders of our movement, they should see that all the devotees are rising early, attending Mangalarti. Oh no, not all these things again. I heard it so many times. This is what Prabhupada said. Sorry. So attending Mangalarti, chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulated principles, and Prabhupada said then management will be at your finger's end. It's an idiom which means it'll go very nicely. If everyone's chanting Hare Krishna and engaged in Krishna's service, then they'll be happy. But it becomes very difficult to manage if devotees are not following the basic principles of Krishna consciousness, because then they'll be on the mental platform instead of the spiritual platform. And it's then so many doubts arise. Enthusiasm goes down. Unless we follow these basic principles of Krishna consciousness, how are we going to remain enthusiastic? If we don't have the enthusiasm to get up and worship Krishna, then how are we going to have enthusiasm to do anything else? Krishna's enthusiastic. He comes among us. And you've got to be enthusiastic to do that. I mean, he's God. He doesn't have to come and accept our worship. He's already worshipped by all the residents of Vrindavan. He doesn't need our worship. But he's enthusiastic to come and deliver us. He accepts the inconvenience of our imperfect service. And he gets up early in the morning. That's the rule. If you want to worship him, you have to get him up early in the morning, because he likes to get up early in the morning. He's God. If he wants, he can sleep up till 10 o'clock. He doesn't have to go to any office or any such thing. But he's enthusiastic. He likes to take out the cows. So cow worship, looking after cows means you have to get up before dawn. So he's up early. So if we're going to follow Krishna, we should also get up early. That's the first enthusiasm. And if you do that, you'll become enthusiastic. Rise early, chant nicely. It's good to have a good full schedule. So there's no space in between for spacing out, as the saying goes. keep engaged, keep busy, keep happy, and your life will be sublime, as Prabhupada used to say. Chant Hare Krishna and your life will be sublime. So if we do it, our life will become sublime. And if we don't do it, then our life will become miserable. Simple principles. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Don't chant Hare Krishna and then you won't be happy. We can see out on the streets of Prague, so many people come here to be happy. I worked all year, I saved up some money, now I'm going to go to Prague. I didn't find happiness in my home. When we go to Prague, everyone must be happy in Prague. I mean, looks like that in the tourist manual. See, they have so many nice buildings, and everyone must be very happy there with so many nice buildings. So let us go to Prague and we shall be happy. And we go there and, well, there are many nice buildings, no doubt. You can take photos of them. But it doesn't make you happy. Something missing there. But, you see, the devotees, they're coming, they're happy. There's when you go for public kirtan, there's always such a contrast between devotees and non-devotees. Can you imagine? This is their enjoyment. This is the high point of their year. This is the happiest time of their year, and they're miserable. The high point of their year is to fly in from somewhere and wander around and take some photos. Poor people. So devotees go out and chant Hare Krishna and make them fortunate. Those who are most fortunate will see that, oh look, these people are happy, I'm not. So let's find out more about it. And then devotees give them books and they start chanting Hare Krishna and they become happy also. This is how the Krishna conscious movement spreads. So as I was saying, we should have a fixed schedule. I think it's time for the sleeping, almost time for that, huh? Hare Krishna.